Well, hello. What's up, everybody? How's everybody doing? Let me make sure that the audio is correct. It is. Making sure my mic isn't too loud. How's everybody doing, man? Hope everybody is well. Welcome to the latest episode of Terrible Towel Tuesday. I am your host, SimFBallCritic, live from the Still Basement, a.k.a. the virtual Heinz Field. What's up, folks? Got a little bit to get into tonight. Got a little bit of stuff to get into tonight, man. Yeah. We got a couple things to get into. You know, not a ton of stuff, but of course, we'll talk about what I have there, right there in the title. Are we concerned with the Steelers offensive line? We'll definitely talk about, talk a little bit more about the departure of David DeCastro. You guys know I did a pre-recorded Steeler report. And some of you guys may have seen it. Some of you guys may have not. So we definitely want to talk about it again tonight live. I'll get some of you guys' reaction. I'll give you my thoughts again. And that will be that. We also will talk about the signing of Trai Turner. What does that mean for the Pittsburgh Steelers? Will that be a simple plug and play? Will there be a void at right guard? Will he be a lesser talent than David DeCastro at this stage of his career? We know his history. Will he improve, or will we stabilize and be right about the same? I know some people don't like DeCastro, so we'll see how you guys feel about that. Also, what I wanted to talk about a little bit, man, what do I have it here in my notes? I know I just want to make a quick reference, speak briefly about Najee Harris, man. It just, again, this guy is a wonderful human being. A couple things that he has going on outside of football. I don't think I had that in the topics, but I definitely want to mention that. But hold on, man. Let me grab my own notes here, if you will. Showing my unpreparedness. Where's my notes? Where's my notes? Notes. There are they. There they are. We want to talk about, I did have it in the actual topics, but not to the degree of what I just said. I want to talk about a little bit about Najee Harris, his possibility of being Rookie of the Year. How will it be affected now, seeing that the offensive line is still kind of in flux? But then also the last thing, man, we'll just talk about the business is the business. And that kind of goes hand in hand with what I'm going to say in regards to David DeCastro. Saw a couple things that Troy Polamalu had to say as well. So that's what we'll get into. But first and foremost, let's say hello to the early viewers and the early commenters. You know we're going to do that before we do anything else. So let me get right to it. I don't know what happened to my light there. There we go. What's going on to Charlie Brown, Tony Barnes, Lance and Shield, Y Diggy. Hello, Miss Lanisha. How you doing this evening? Rajan 39. Stillmatic. Hello, Miss Destiny. How you doing this evening? Rick Steele, Mr. Winningham, Still a Nation. Who else we got in here? Armand Bozeman, Jordan Mid, and who else we got in here? BMK, Brother Mark, Lydell Dorsey, my brother Kenyon, of course. Banoa Johnson, Kenyon with that emoji. What happened, man? What happened? Did somebody say something, or well, you're just making reference to the situation in the offensive line? If that's what you're doing, yeah, man. Jared Double and my man Drip in the building, and John Gotti will end it right there. John Gotti. All right, man. Where do we want to start? Let's see. I think the first thing to talk about, let's go ahead and talk about Najee, man. I'm going to talk about Najee Harris, and give me a second here, guys. I'm going to pull up, just a little piece that I saw here on Twitter, and I will read that. We'll get that part out of the way. But I want to talk about him, man, and we'll roll that into also whether we think he'll have a chance of being Rookie of the Year. We'll come back to that when we talk about the offensive line. But what was posted here by ESPN, it says, we were evicted numerous times and had to stay in homeless shelters, friends' houses, cars. But as a family, we stuck together and made it through those tough times. Now I'm in position to help people who were once in my shoes. Najee Harris, who is advocating for the homeless in California. So in case you guys don't know, he's definitely working with, local politicians and things there to try, to get things shaking and moving, man, in regards to the homeless, basically help advocate for the homeless and whatever they can do to eradicate that, make it a better situation, help those that they can help, whatever that means. But I just wanted to talk about that because I told you guys, there's a lot of times that I like people for who they seem to be. I say seem because we don't know these people personally, but I think it's but so much you can act or fake, if you will. Even let's talk about myself, and I hate doing that, but let's just be honest. It would be but so long I could fake something before somebody would start figuring it out or poking holes through it. You know what I'm saying? People I talk to offline, they would eventually start to say, hey, that ain't really him. It ain't but so long you can fake. For you hip hop fans, y'all know the line is, it's only so long fake thugs can pretend. You know what I'm saying? And what that really means is, give it a matter of time, the true colors are going to show itself. Reason why I say all that is because this guy, he just appears to be one of those dudes, man, already. Good dude, good brother. I don't really have much more to say, man. It's great to see a guy in this position and his age, still be able to attach that. Obviously he's never going to forget where he came from. He's showing us that. So again, I think that shows a lot of character. Not saying that if you're not, a humanitarian, that you can't be a great person. I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying this dude is showing us who he is. So I don't think the Steelers will have any issues in terms of him being a cancer to the locker room or, a negative person in the community. I don't think you're going to have any of that. And like I said, to me, Juju is another one like that. And I know people try to pick at Juju and pick fun of him with certain things he does, but y'all know what I'm saying. Juju is cut from that cloth. And if I do say so myself, it's great to see guys like that on the Steelers team, since we have had drama previously in our locker room. So just wanted to give him some love right there. And like I said, we'll get back to Najee in a minute because there's a couple of things I want to talk about, especially when we talk about the offensive line. Quick question I had for you guys early in the chat. I was listening to the Steeler podcast, Terrible podcast, excuse me. And it reminded me of something that we talked about last week. You guys recall me saying that I think Deontay Johnson is right now the one receiver on our roster that I think has the capability of being a number one in terms of total package, route running, and et cetera, right? Not just physical skills and things like that. I'm just talking about total package as far as what I've seen from him, as a receiver. Is he the best blocker? Nah, not really. He's a smaller guy. So I'm not comparing that. But I'm just talking about mainly his route running, his ability to beat 101s, his ability to win off the line. He's probably the best at it right now. Some of us said that, some of you guys said that Chase Claypool could become a number one at some point. Perhaps. If Chase Claypool is able to get a very solid route tree and, work on his feet, he's just not going to have the same feet as some guys. It's just some people are born with that. He might not have the best, feet or agility with his feet as some guys. Everybody ain't going to be a Chad Johnson. It's things like that are just special. But he could get better at routes. He could, start incorporating more of the route tree. And with his physical stature, his, of course, his size, his speed, his aggressiveness, he could turn into a freak out there. He could literally turn into what we're trying to, compare him to now. That he could live up to that Mapletron name. But I'm just talking about today. But what they were talking about on the Terrible podcast is his drops. Again, we talked about it too last week. And I want to ask you guys, man, do you guys think he can turn that around? Have you seen enough evidence to make you believe that it's just him? Or have you seen evidence on the other side thinking that, no, he can get better at that? Because, you may notice that a lot of times it's the easy ones that he drops, right? And he's made some difficult catches. So I don't know if it's hands. I do definitely believe it's more a concentration thing. But are you guys concerned about that? And do you think that Deontay Johnson can get it together and he will, emerge as the sure enough number one receiver? So let me see what one of you guys got. See what you guys got, man. See what y'all got in the chat. So that's a quick question to you guys. Kenya said both. But what I was talking about earlier. Nick Torres says, if he has a great year, I hope he does. Signing a hooker would be a great insurance since it's 17. Okay, I think y'all talking about Edmonds. So I think I'm a little ahead of you guys. Why Diggy says, I think he needs to focus more and stop trying to make big plays before making a catch. Yeah, it definitely looks like a little bit of that, and I would lump all of that into concentration, trying to turn up the field and make a move. It's like you already set the guy up in your mind, but you got to secure the ball first. So he definitely needs to work on that, do a little more of that for sure. Let me see what else. I'll wait for maybe one more comment in that regard, and if not, I'll go ahead and move on to the next thing. All right, I'll go ahead and move on. We'll go ahead and move on because I see you guys are talking about Terrell Edmonds and such. So, yeah, we'll get into that. We'll get into that too because I see you guys have something to say about that. So maybe, we'll save this conversation here and you guys can fill me in after the fact. And yeah, potential. Definitely has that potential, Kenyon. I agree with that 100%, man. I think if Deontay can, again, if the guy can concentrate a little bit, he has the potential to be a solidified number one receiver for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Honestly believe that. So let's see what else. What else do I have on my docket? I want to talk about, we did Najee, let's go ahead and get into the David DeCastro news, and we'll lump that in with Trey Turner as well. And I guess I'll start with Trey Turner, and I would be fully transparent here and let you guys know, listen, I don't know much about Trey Turner. I absolutely do not. I did not do my homework this week as far as going and watching his film. I didn't. I do recall, him having decent years in Carolina, just kind of watching their games and, every now and then if you're crazy like me and sometimes you look at stat sheets and you can tell, who gave up what and who gave up this and, pancakes and things like that if you look deeply into the stats. So I know at one time Trey Turner was, a very decent, very solid offensive guard, right? Now, last year, he sustained an injury. And from what people are saying, he didn't have a great season with the Chargers. Again, I don't know. I just didn't pay attention to his career. Didn't think I needed to. And I haven't gone back and watched the tape. But what I do know for sure is, for some reason, it's a little hot in here. I think it's this light. What I do know for sure, guys, is that sometimes in the NFL or any, well, I can't say any sport because basketball sometimes dudes get paid way more than what I think their market value would be. However, sidebar, get your money, guys. I'm not mad at anybody. If the owner is making billions of dollars, then I don't care what y'all make. That's just a sidebar. But what I was going to say is your market sometimes kind of shows what type of player you are, what type of player you will be, or what type of player people believe that you currently are. Right? You can always outplay your contract. Sometimes you can underperform your contract, or you might play exactly where somebody signed you. Now, given the fact that he didn't work out with the Chargers, and I know there were some injury situations there, and also given the fact that he was a free agent, and up until this point, he had not been signed, and we know offensive linemen are definitely a premium. That's something that you want. Seeing that he was still a free agent and seeing that the Steelers were able to get him right around $3 million doesn't make me feel great. However, again, we know how this sport works, right? I'm going to talk about this a little bit later. The business is the business. Given his age, I think he's 28. That's not old, but he's older. And maybe he hadn't been the best guard in the league. And then again, you have injuries on top of that. Maybe teams are not willing to pay that. even though I don't think that's a lot of money, I actually think that's kind of a steal for a guy who has pedigree, and the Steelers need somebody that now will have to replace DeCastro. I think it's kind of a steal at just $3 million. And I know some people are saying just $3 million, but yeah, when you're talking about the NFL and what guys get paid, just at about $3 million is not a lot of money. So, and, the Steelers obviously gained some cap room back, with doing what they had to do with DeCastro. The question is, do you feel, and again, I'm asking some of you guys in the audience, I'm acting like I'm in front of y'all, right? Did the Steelers get better or worse? Is Trey Turner better or worse than David DeCastro? I know DeCastro didn't have the greatest 2020. We now know there's, injury he was dealing with. But that's a legit question. Well, we better or worse? Really would like to know what you guys think on that. Like I said, I don't have enough information right now to really give a real opinion. And again, like I said, maybe I should have done a little more homework before tonight's show, but y'all know how this show here, we just fans, right? We don't do this for a living, and sometimes we freestyle it and chop it up. I didn't get a chance to watch the film on him this week. I will make it my point to do that going forward, but what do you guys think, man? Are we better or worse without him? I definitely want to hear you guys' thoughts for anybody who is, familiar with him. Miss Destiny says, to be honest, to be determined. She says, I hope the same or better. Very true. Very true. I'm agreeing with you right there. Anybody else got a comment on that? Why Diggy says, DeCastro needs another surgery, so he most likely wouldn't be available to us anyway. So based on that move, and based on that, the move was needed. Yeah. Kenya says, Trey Turner is not an upgrade, but he can be efficient. Okay. 12 gauge Hemi says, as we sit here, man, I think it's kind of a downgrade for DeCastro. Appreciate that donation, Luis. Definitely appreciate that. Round of applause to you. We'll get to you in just a quick second. Thank you for that. Normally, you guys know I interrupt myself immediately when I get a donation. I am still doing that, but let me just finish 12 gauge comment. He says, as we sit here, man, I think it's kind of a downgrade from DeCastro, but we won't know until the season starts. That is absolutely a fact. Thank you again, Luis. Luis says, hey, Sim, been a while. Even though Sutton is more experienced, if Pierre continues to improve, would you be comfortable with him being the starter? Yeah, we actually talked about that last week. Absolutely in this regard. I probably still want Cam Sutton out there whenever we're in base, right? So if we're in base, you would think that Cam Sutton is probably still going to be one of the more savvy on the roster. And I don't know this to be true, but I have seen him tackle, so maybe his tackling could be better than Pierre. I'm not sure. We know Mike Hilton was really a solidified tackler. But I think I would prefer still right now Sutton and Hayden if we're in base. But in nickel, which we primarily play sub package, yeah. If James Pierre continues to elevate, I would love for a situation to be where we could keep him outside and let Cam Sutton play underneath because of his coverage ability and because of how well I think he can cover in the slot, in man coverage, yada, yada, yada. You guys saw. In the latter parts of Hilton's career with us, you start seeing that we would bring Cam Sutton in as a nickel to cover. So if we can keep him there, I think he has a perfect skill set, his stature, as far as height and all of that to match up with most slot receivers. Unless they're some of the bigger guys. But still, you guys know what I'm saying. So if we can protect him, keep him in the inside where he's comfortable, I'm all for it. All for it. Was there anything else in regards to DeCastro? Drip says DeCastro was already regressing anyway, so I don't know how good a 2021 DeCastro would be. That is a very, very good point. Mr. Winningham says about the same. DeCastro was a major concern. Yeah, but DeCastro definitely did not have the best season last year. We now know why. Steeler Nation says, yeah, people are acting like losing DeCastro was terrible. Let's not act like DeCastro was proficient last year. Yep, there you go. I'm in full agreement there. So, all right, man, let's go ahead and get to DeCastro. No need for me to prolong that any further. Real quick, Kenyon says Steelers will draft a future RG in the next first 2 picks of the 2022 draft. Bank on that. Yeah, I believe we can definitely believe we can go ahead and bank on that, Kenyon. Absolutely, because as we can tell, man, offensive line. The funny thing is we could be in the market for a tackle and a guard. You know what I mean? It's crazy, right? And a quarterback. Wouldn't that be nuts? Wouldn't that be nuts if the Steelers go in the draft next year where the biggest concerns are quarterback, tackle, particularly left tackle, and guard? Now, you would hope, quick sidebar, we're going to have some cap. So you would hope there's somebody at one of these positions we'd be able to fill via free agency, and then it frees up things for the draft. But, yeah, that would be quite something, right? Quite something. Last one real quick on Luis. He's speaking on DeCastro as well. He said, well, don't know if the Steelers are better without DeCastro, but knowing that he wasn't going to be available at the start of the season and maybe the entire season, the move had to be made. Couldn't agree with you anymore there. So speaking of that, let's get to the last topic, man. And then we'll see if there's any phone calls in the queue. If they are, we'll take them. If not, then y'all know the deal. We talk for a little bit and then we'll be out. So right now we do actually have 2 in the queue. I promise I didn't mean to make that rhyme. 1 second, please. Shout outs. Looks like we have another donation, man. So shout outs to Q. Round of applause. I still don't know why it throws that text right there. I don't know what that's about. But anyway, thank you for that, Q. Q says, wish we would have got Morgan Moses though. Yeah, and it's funny, man. Morgan is from my hometown, man. He's from Richmond, Virginia, man. So, of course, I'm going to root for that. Now, to my knowledge, he has not been signed yet, correct, guys? He hasn't been signed yet? I don't think he's been signed. And, the only difference is, well, maybe the reason why they didn't bring him in is because he's a tackle. I mean, I know it's hard to say that we have any confidence, real confidence, us as a fan base, and Chuks Okorafor or Zach Banner. I think I have more confidence in Banner than I do Chuks. But maybe that's the reason why they didn't bring him in. I don't know. Obviously now the Trey Turner thing, I think the Steelers knew, and we'll go ahead and roll into that topic with DeCastro. I think they knew what was coming down the pike, which is the reason why they brought him in. Remember, I was just saying last week, why did we bring a guard in? I was just saying that. Now we understand why. So that would be my only question, or I guess my guess as to why they didn't sign Moses. Let me see what you guys said. Did he sign with somebody? The Jets signed him. Okay. That's what's up. Shout outs to Moses, man. That's what's up. Let's talk to Castro real quick, man. How do we feel about it? I think we all agree that David DeCastro was not his best last year. We now know why. He was injured. He had surgery early part of January. I didn't know that. I don't know if that was public. Maybe they said it last year and I didn't pay attention to it. But he had a procedure done then, right? And then throughout the year, he did okay, but he clearly wasn't the dominant David DeCastro that we knew, that we had grown to love over the years, right? Quite often when I was showing film on Tuesdays, when we're doing film study, how many times did I say, look at this, DeCastro is in the backfield with Connor, with Snell, or whoever was carrying the ball. Quite often, he was getting pushed around. The guys that stuck out like a sore thumb the most, and it's funny because I'm going to name more than one guy, there were times when it was DeCastro. There was definitely times when it was Matt Filer, and then there were times when it was Little Al. You know what I'm saying? But DeCastro, a lot of times he stuck out for being pushed around. And now we know why. So apparently, he has a third surgery coming up. Something about bone spurs or what have you. And we found out that he wasn't participating in minicamp. And obviously, man, look, Steelers had to do what they had to do, right? And the funny thing is now, you're reading that, perhaps he's allowing his lawyer to handle, He may be filing a grievance against the Steelers. And let me be honest, I don't know the particulars, but I do think that from what I'm hearing, he may have a shot at winning that based on how he was released or how long they kept him. I don't know. I don't really know the particulars. But at the end of the day, it was kind of odd that it said non-football injury. And I'm like, okay, but we know he's injured and needs surgery. So I was confused on that designation as well. And let's just get to the business, guys. I know some people out there are saying, oh, the Steelers was trying to swindle this or trying to finagle this, finagle that. It's a business. And if it was your business, wouldn't you try to do what's best for you at the end of the day? Of course, they love these players, but we're talking about if a guy is unable to compete, right? Let's say he wasn't going to be available at the start of the year or even the entire season. Then wouldn't you expect them to do the best thing that's possible to do for money, for the money side of it as far as cap? I'm not talking about just saving money, because the Steelers are paying X amount of million just like every other team every year. It's not a point of them penny pinching, but when it's cap tied to it, then yeah, you're going to do what you have to do to make it more advantageous for your cap. So again, however it went down, I don't know what the grievance is. I don't know if it's, if it's probable cause. I don't know. I'm just saying that's why a lot of times you don't hear me post an opinion or, you see people online, oh, the Steelers are dumb because they did this and why would they do it this way and not do it that way? The truth of the matter is we don't know why. Let me calm y'all nerves a little bit. We don't know why. We don't work in the front office. We don't work for the Pittsburgh Steelers. We're not the agent. We're not the financial officer for the Steelers. We don't know why the organization does what they do. So it just, you never really catch me go all out like that. Now, of course, we all have opinions, like we chop it up here. Or we might say, that seems odd. I'm not talking about not having an opinion. I'm just talking about the segment of the fan base that trashes every single move that the Steelers make. And this is supposed to be the team that they like, right? I mean, they trashing it, dragging them through the mud. Oh, they're so dumb. Why would you do this? What? We don't know why. We don't know the ins. We don't know the outs. But all you can do is trust in the organization. You don't have to agree. But it's just funny, man, how the fan acts like we know what's best for the situation. I'm not even going to say what's best for the team. We act like we know what's best for the situation. And half of the time we have zero concrete evidence as to why something happened. To me, it looks very simple. I question why remember last week? I was like, why are they bringing a guard? That's about as far as I'm going to go. You didn't hear me say, they are so stupid for bringing in Trey Turner. Why would you do that? You don't need a guard. I ain't do none of that. I just was like, that's interesting. Why they brought a guard in? I thought, if anything, we needed a tackle. Remember, I went on the whole explanation as to why I would have brought in a tackle, if any. Now we know why. Like I said, what's obvious to me now is the Steelers knew something. They brought in a security blanket. And whatever happened since then, they find out that David DeCastro is not going to be available. Bam. They release him. They sign Turner. So to me, it looks like due diligence. Even though I didn't know why they were doing that due diligence, now I know. So that's all I'm saying, man. A lot of times things ain't what you believe it is. We'll never know. So I don't know. I don't understand the point of, I don't know. I know everybody got a job to do, even because some of the professionals are out here acting like that, like they know everything. But as far as my thoughts on the David DeCastro thing, excuse me, as far as are we better or worse, give me a second. I have a feeling that Trey Turner could probably play better than DeCastro played last season. I think that's a fair assessment. Again, I haven't studied his film. I'm just saying, I would hope that he could play better than that. I would hope that he'd be able to fall into what Clem is trying to do. Clem is trying to infuse nastiness and, infuse physicality back into the offensive line. So if they believe that Trey Turner is somebody who can bring that to them, and or maybe Trey Turner was the best option given the fact that you're losing a huge chunk from your offensive line. Again, like I said, we never know. He might have been the next best available. So what I'm curious to see is how does this translate into what we're trying to do in offense? A lot of us are speculating that Matt Canada will infuse more zone scheme, even though we ran a little bit of it, but we assume that he would do that and there's going to be reach blocks and things like that. How does he fall into that? Is he capable of doing that? How does that affect Najee Harris? I put there in the description, will Najee Harris be an offensive rookie of the year? That's what a lot of people are saying that he will be. But now, how does this affect that? Because to me, I think the answer is yes if the Steelers are able to run the football. If we're able to sustain drives by running the football, then Najee Harris will have, let's just spitball it. Steelers are able to successfully run the football. I'm not even going to put a number on it as far as what is success, but if we're talking about how solid or decent the Steelers' running game is in 2021, that would mean that Najee Harris probably ends the season with 1,100 to 1,200 yards rushing, possibly more, but let's be modest. And some people might say that's not modest, but when you're talking about 17 games and do the math, if you rush for 100 every game, how much is that? You probably won't do that, but you have a couple games when you rush for $150. You have a game here and there that you rush for 99. You have a game that you only rush for 66. But then you turn around and you rush for, 20 carries for 122 yards or something like that. Those games could be up and down, but you do the math with the amount of games. Then, 1,100 to 1,200 is not crazy. So that would be that Najee Harris is 1,100 to 1,200 yards, say 10 touchdowns. If he does that, maybe he needs a little more than 10. Let's say he finishes with 15 rushing touchdowns. I think given this class and trying to consider some of the other offensive rookies, he has a chance. I think he has a chance, but it's all going to come down to what the Steelers are able to do with this newly constructed offensive line. That's number one. And number two, what does a Matt Canada offense look like with Ben Roethlisberger's influence? Because remember, he said he's going to run what Ben is comfortable running. Is he going to begin, get to a point where Ben is more comfortable with the quick pass game? So I'm not ready to put a stamp on that yet. I know the Steelers will focus on running the football, but again, we got new pieces on this offensive line. We won't know if we are very effective running the football until, if we're going to compare it to last year, we won't know till about week 7 or 8. The first 4 games or so, remember we had that stint when we was rushing for 100. We'll know about around week 7 or 8 what the run game is turning into. So I'll answer that question with, it's possible. Do I believe it happens now? I don't know. I'm leaning towards no and surprise me because I just don't know now. Again, look at that offensive line. I run it all for you. Chooks or core for, right? Kevin Dotson, Kendrick Green, or BJ Finney at center, right? Right guard, Trey Turner. Right tackle, Zach Banner. Now, if you can look me straight in my eyes and tell me that you think that offensive line is definitely going to dominate, boy, you got way more optimism than I do because they are new pieces, especially as a unit. We shall see. We shall see. So, all right, man, let's get to the phone calls, and then we'll get out of here. First and foremost, we got Mr. Winningham. We're going to get him on first. You guys know the routine, man. Keep it quick, but get all of your points out. All right, so let's bring on our good friend, Mr. Winningham first and foremost, how you doing this evening, sir?
Hey, how you doing? I hope you and I hope everybody, your family, everybody's doing fine, and as we enter this holiday season.
Yes, sir.
For the 4th. We do have a new offensive line, and this offensive line is going to take time to gel. We won't see this offensive line gel. We won't see the best of this offensive line probably until the months of November. We're going to go through our bumps and scrapes and bruises. For David DeCastro, I was very, very concerned of him last year, and we didn't see the best of DeCastro. We saw him, and Matt Fowler. The rest of the guys on the offensive line, that offensive line went straight downhill. This is a brand new offensive line, but that offensive line last year went straight downhill. I mean, the performance of it from A to Z. One thing I was concerned about, I was listening to one of the podcasts, it might have been DK Sports, but they were saying that the Steelers offensive coaches weren't happy with the conditioning of Kevin Dotson. I don't know what that all about. I don't know whether you heard anything about it. I just assumed that, I don't know what it is. I mean, I assume Kevin Dotson would be in good shape. So I don't know whether you heard anything about that and whether you can talk about that a little bit, because I just listened to the thing and they didn't really give much except they weren't happy with his performance. And lastly, I wanted to know, what's the situation with Kendrick Green's contract? He's, for what I understand, still not signed his rookie deal. And being a third-round draft pick, he knows where he's slotted as far as what is he going to get paid, unless the contract is coming down the language. Thank you so much, and I hope everybody has a great 4th of July, and be safe, everybody.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Winningham. And definitely, I'm going to comment on two of the things that you talked about there. One being Kendrick Green and also Kevin Dotson. I was going to put that as one of my topics, but I didn't. I figured it would come up from one of you guys. So, we could talk about that really quick. Speaking of Kevin Dotson, from what I'm seeing, I've looked at a lot of different sources. It appears that report came from like one reporter, but other reporters are refuting it, saying that's not true. And then apparently they showed where Kevin Dotson kind of replied as well on Twitter saying the coaches didn't say that. So we'll see. Training camp will tell us. Training camp will tell us. And even if we can't see it for ourselves, hopefully there's somebody that will be able to be there. Hopefully, we always give our credit to Steelers Depot and what they do during training camp, and Alex Kazor doing his day-to-day podcast, basically giving us the details as far as what's happening in that camp. So that's one thing for sure. Camp will tell us if that is true. You know what I'm saying? Maybe he wasn't, who knows? Let's just say he wasn't in the best of shape. Well, let me tell you, you got about 5 weeks or so to get yourself in some kind of conditioning. Because once training camp hits, it's going to tell itself. No question. You can't cheat those things. The other thing that you mentioned, man, as far as Kendrick Green, I think it's as simple as, he's probably trying to maximize his situation. It could be a formality thing. I'm pretty sure he's going to sign. And like you said, how much can he really be requesting, given that he was a third rounder? He knows where his market is. I think couple other guys in his position got signed that were third or even as high as second round, and the money wasn't crazy. So it's either formality or him trying to get as much as he can. And I think that's it. I don't think there's no, ill intentions. I don't think there's no, rubbing the wrong way, if you will. For one, you got to be happy that you're in the NFL. For two, kid, you do understand that you are coming into a situation where you're more than likely, well, let's say you have the chance to more than likely start. Maybe you're using that as a bargaining chip, but I'm just saying it'd be pretty stupid to forego signing with the Steelers, given the fact, and I don't know this, I'm just saying, let's play for a minute. Assume that's what he's thinking. It'd be really stupid to do that, given the fact that the Steelers are in a situation where they need a center and they need a starter Hey, and by the way, you played guard in college on the right side, if I'm not mistaken. Or was it the left? I don't remember. But I know I've seen him play guard. Who knows? Now, I don't know if you would be a guard for us. I'm just saying there's opportunities at the Steelers. No other team is going to pay you that much more than probably what your market is. So it'd be really dumb to hold out and whatever and kick and scream and don't sign. Would not be wise, my friend. So, like I said, I don't know if any of that is true. So if anybody were to see this that knows him, if he sees it, look, I think it's just formalities, my man. I'm just trying to speak from both sides of the equation, So there you go. That's all I got on it. And I say that after I say a lot about it, right? Silly me. Next caller, man. Looks like probably the last caller of the night. Area code 678. What you got for us from A-Town?
Appreciate that there, sir. Thanks for taking my call. Like you were just saying on Kendrick Green, according to Alex and Dave, they said that that's just some formalities, language. Do you think that now that DeCastro is gone, that Dotson will go over to the right-hand side where he naturally played at in college?
That's a good question. And let me answer that while you're here. That's the one thing I think a lot of people are forgetting. He was having to, quote unquote, learn how to play left guard. Interesting. That's on the table. And honestly, hey, I have no beef with that. When we scouted him,
one more quick question. Oh,
yeah, go ahead.
No, finish. Go ahead, young man. No, I apologize.
Oh, no, you good. I know it's going to always be a little delay, man, when we talking this way. But, yeah, I was just going to say, when I had a chance to watch him and scout him after we drafted him, he was at right guard, and that's where, I was saying, oh, this dude is a mauler. I actually remember saying, man, maybe he ends up being the right guard once DeCastro leaves. Now, look, we're here now. So, good point, man. We'll see.
All right, and then one more question, sort of same. Well, it's on defense. Do you feel as though, because I'll be saying, hey, thanks a lot for calling out. Now I want to forget his name, Joe Hayden. But with that being said, you were saying that he's falling off a little bit as far as speed go. Do you feel as though that Cam could go to the outside and then maybe he could come to the inside?
It's possible. Let me think on that for a second. What would be the disadvantage? I think the disadvantage would be, in that case, are we assuming that Pierre and Sutton holding it down on the outside? That would probably be the only caveat. And you know what? Honestly, I would say no, only because of this. I don't think the Steelers do that often, because I definitely remember a lot of us were saying, yo, man, they should, try maybe William Gay as a safety, when he got in his later years, and they didn't do that. And that seemed like it was very obvious. So that's the only reason why I would say no. I don't think the Steelers, I think they keep him where he's at. I don't know if they move him in the slot. It's possible, though. I just don't think they do it.
Okay, and then the last thing, and then I'll let somebody else get online. I went back and course and checked because me myself, I only watch football, but Steeler Nation had the same concern when we drafted Pouncey. They was like, he's a rookie, he'll be there'll be a rookie center blocking for Ben. And then a few years later, it was a couple years later, we got the David DeCastro, and they were saying the same stuff. Well, he blocked well for the guy that retired at Indianapolis. That doesn't mean that he's going to be able to translate that to the NFL, So I think a lot of times, we forget our history as far as the Steelers go. We have a great replacement, if you will. We know how to replace individuals. Since I've been a child, I remember when Jack Ham was getting ready to retire. Oh, man, we ain't got nobody, to replace Jack Ham. Wrong. And I remember when Greg Lloyd and Kevin Green used to be on the team. Oh, man, Greg Lloyd's gone. It's over now. Wrong. So it's always good when you underestimate the Steelers. That's why I always say I like when they're talking bad about us as opposed to when they're talking good about us, because like Samuel L. Jackson say, does that make us more dangerous or less dangerous? Most of the time, it makes us more dangerous. Thanks for taking my call, Sim. Have a wonderful weekend.
Yeah, thank you, man. I love the movie references, man, because y'all know I do that all the time. If I'm not mistaken, if you can put it in the chat, I think he's referring to when Samuel said that on Shaft. When my boy Peoples was like, "You ain't a cop no more." He was like, "You think that makes me more dangerous or less dangerous?" Yeah, man. Yeah, listen, that's a great point. And it kind of goes along with, my topic. And excuse me, guys, I've still got the headphones on because I hear music. Like I said, I always like listening to music. But it goes back to what I said about the business is the business, right? We don't respect the business all the time as a Steeler fan base. It's funny. And I'm not just going to put it on us. There's probably a lot of fan bases that are like that, but you are absolutely correct. Pouncey is kind of a good comparison to Kendrick Green. A little more undersized technically, and it's funny when you talk about dudes that are that size, right, that they undersized, but you know how positions work with height and weight and all of that. But, a guy that seemed to be, Pouncey always seemed to be more of an athletic center, agile, quick feet, more so than he was a big, powerful, like, to me, what you kind of saw in Landon Dickerson, that ain't Pouncey. He's not that big, bruising center. You know what I'm saying? But you might be right about that. Kendrick Green, listen, when you have that attitude, when you have that want to, and that nasty and that drive, that can help overcompensate for a lot. I know this ain't basketball, but it's like I always say about a guy like Charles Barkley. Charles Barkley, in theory, had no business being a power forward at his size, technically. But dude ended up being the mound, round, or rebound. Come on, man. The way he just played bigger than his size. So I think that is a thing. That is a thing. And you never know, man. Kendrick Green might come in here and do his thing. I'm going to allow all of these rookies to take their rookie lumps. I'm not going to put these lofty expectations on them. I just hope by the end of the season, we're looking at a couple of these guys that we know that's going to have to play that are rookies and say, hey, I think we might have something here. Okay? Najee Harris more than likely will probably be the one that excels the most just because he's going to get, the more of the attention. Well, actually, you could kind of, look at him and Green together because obviously Green's getting contact on every play if he starts. But I think Najee is the one that's going to stand out the most. But, you got him. You got Kendrick Green and you got Freiermuth. And at the end of the season, if we're turning around and we're saying to ourselves, hey, man, we might have something here. That's all we can ask for. Now, if these guys don't turn out to be as good as you expected, again, they're rookies. Not everybody hits the ground running. You got to give these guys at least 2 to 3 years to show what they can be. You just hope that these guys are better earlier than having to get better later, if that makes sense. But yeah, man, that's all I got on that. Great calls from my guys there, man. Faithful callers. Appreciate you guys. So let's see what you guys have in the chat, man. We'll chop it up with you guys for a little bit. And we'll see what y'all got. Let's see. All right, I can take the phones off now. Somebody said something about Tomlin. What y'all said, Tomlin? Y'all notice I don't even talk about Tomlin no more. Okay, Todd. I thought so. And it's funny sometimes, man, when I put the phone numbers and the voices to the names, I had no idea that was you, Todd, that was calling. Like, I know your name in the chat. You know what I mean? I had no idea that 678 is Todd Christian. So what's up, Todd? Yeah, he said that's exactly right. That's what I'm talking about. Samuel Jackson on Shaft. Yeah, man, y'all know me. I'm the movie dude, man. So a lot of times I can correlate things or catch lines just like that. It's one of the things, honestly, if y'all, if I'm being cheesy for the ladies who are listening, that's one of the things that, really clicked with me and my wife is that we were able to do that. Like when we first started dating, and it's crazy. Because usually, like me and my best friend, who's also my cousin, that's how we always did. Even when we were growing up, we could talk in movie sentences and people would know what, like we could literally have a conversation around people just using movie lines. And nobody had no idea what we was talking about. And then depending on who we were around, if we thought that they might know a certain movie, we could switch it up and go to another genre of a movie. Like it was ill. It was crazy. But like I said, me and wifey is and my nephew just texted me, guys. My little nephew, he's here with my son. He's 10. My son is 7. He texted me saying that his dad was taking them to the park. So if y'all saw me pause for a moment, I was just looking. They a trip, these kids. But anyway, yeah, man, me and my wife could do that too, man. So that was what, one of the things we always clicked on and still do. So that was a long way of me saying, yeah, I knew what you were talking about. Blitzberg says Pat Fryermuth will stand out in Canada's offense. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That boy Fryermuth got an opportunity, man, to, you know what I'm saying? We might be looking at him like, yo. So, yeah, we got a couple guys, and that's all I ask, man. All I ask is for those prime guys, those 3. I'm not saying that the other guys that we drafted later aren't a concern, but those 3 are dudes that we know are going to play. I think Kendrick Green is going to play, even if he doesn't start. He's going to play at some point in the season, I do believe. We'll see. But Fryermuth and Naji, absolutely. So that's why I'm talking about primarily those 3 guys. What else y'all got? Steeler Nation says, The Real says, when Tomlin can't win in the playoff, then he's done. Excuse me. Well, again, like I told you guys, man, I'm not really gonna. I'm just not having a conversation. Y'all know how I feel about Tomlin. I think Tomlin has been an excellent coach with the Pittsburgh Steelers. Do I have my issues with some of the things and some of his philosophy? Yes. You guys know my main thing is time management. That's one of the biggest things. Time management is one of the biggest things and his challenges. Even though he won a couple last year, I think. But other than that, when people try to say he doesn't know X's and O's, I don't tend to believe that because the guy played football. The guy was coordinator. I mean, come on, man. You even hear the players sometimes say, no, Coach T actually drew this up on the sideline. So now, if we want to say as a whole the team doesn't make adjustments, maybe that is true sometimes. But again, there's times when we've won games and you hear the players say right after the game, Coach Tomlin made this adjustment. So I'm just, do I agree with everybody that it's time for us to win some playoff games? Yes. Yes. I'm sick and tired of losing in the playoffs here lately. I've been sick and tired of it since the AFC Championship. I was sick and tired of it when we had a bye. Do y'all understand? We had a bye. After winning the Patriots game that they robbed us out of, even after losing that game, we still ended up with a bye. I thought this was the year. Nope. Jacksonville comes in there, do what they do. And we haven't won a playoff game in quite a while. But at the end of the day, that doesn't mean if we change the head coach and next year we go right to the play. I don't think it's all that. Yeah, I really don't. If y'all really want to know my philosophy, I don't think a bad coach gets to the playoffs. I don't. Now, some people say, yeah, but we need a guy that can get us over the hump. I get it. I agree with you. He has won before. But I just don't think that it's just the head coach when we're talking about not winning playoff games. It might be more of the head coach when the team is constantly going 3-12, 8-8. You know, they can't do no better than that. Then you know, you might have to really start looking at the coaching staff and saying, okay, what's really happening here? But I'm sorry, I just don't believe bad coaches go to the playoffs. That's just my opinion. But again, not going to debate anybody about Mike Tomlin again. Just not. Everybody has their opinion. And yes, Ben Roethlisberger, yeah, it's time. You know, and again, even if Ben wins this year, it's time. That time is approaching. So, yeah, I mean, you ain't going to get no argument out of me for that. You know, Ben's time is almost up, man. I don't foresee Ben Roethlisberger being the quarterback that's still playing well into his 40s. I don't think he's going to be that guy. I just don't. I just don't. What else y'all got, man? We'll stick around for a little while longer. My brother Tony in the building. What's up, Tony? The real, you saying some real basic stuff here, my brother. And what I'm saying by that, and I'm not picking on you, I'm just saying, you said we need to find someone equal or better than Ben Roethlisberger at quarterback. Sir, listen, I mean, that's every team's mission, and that's not so easy. So what I'm saying is, when I say you're saying some real simple things here, I'm like, that's like obvious. You know what I mean? That's like an obvious statement. Like, of course, I mean, but you know. 12 Gauge says, got to get back to the running the ball and bailing out the D. Then we'll start winning in the playoffs. There you go. You're absolutely correct, man. Listen, the teams like Baltimore, I mean, even Tampa Bay, they could run the football when they needed to. But, you know, teams like Baltimore control time of possession. Even teams like Cleveland, who were what? Were they number one in rushing or something like that at one point? You know, you got to run that football, man. And it's when you can run the football, you make the game. And I never want to disrespect it by saying basic, but y'all know what I'm saying. You make it a very basic. You turn it into a very simple, basic game when you run the football. Because when you run the football effectively, you allow a guy like Baker Mayfield to kill on the bootleg. You allow that. You allow play action to be premium when you can effectively run the football, and with running the football is a threat. So you make the game very basic when you do that. Let me see. What else y'all got, man? Malik Hooker or Richard Sherman? Malik Hooker, please. I'll take him over Richard Sherman at this point. And that's not a disrespect to Richard Sherman. Richard Sherman was great in his career and maybe still even great in certain spots. But right now I'm taking Malik Hooker as another safety rather than taking Richard Sherman in our scheme. The Real says, what in Haskins do you see as having talent? I believe there's some talent there. Listen, did he do great in Washington? He did not. You know, are there some things that you could work on? I think so. Kenyon has made a great point in regards to Ohio State quarterbacks. It's funny, Kenyon, I was watching I Am Athlete, the Deion Sanders episode, and I think he said the same thing. I think it was on that show. It was either that show or it was another interview, but I know Deion Sanders said it, and I watched it recently, and I've watched him in a couple interviews and I Am Athlete a few days ago, so I could be wrong with where he was at, but he said the same thing. He was basically talking about the position, right, and, you know, who you're surrounded around and stuff like that, and he kind of was talking about the kid, you know, some of the Alabama quarterbacks and saying, are they great quarterbacks or were they, you know, put in great situations, yada, yada, yada. And then he was saying, you know, college is one thing. He's like, Ohio State, how many quarterbacks have succeeded in the NFL, you know, but because it was I think it was a different interview because he was talking about acquiring talent and HBCUs and getting everybody on the same playing field, yada, 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 yada. So that's when he was saying, you know, were those guys that great in college or were they just surrounded by talent? But with that being said, I do believe there is some level of talent that Dwayne Haskins has to do what he did at Ohio State. You know, whether he turns into a great NFL quarterback or not, I do think there's some talent there. The boy has a cannon arm. He's young, and let's see if you can fix him. And even if it ain't the Steelers, you know, I'm not ready to throw him in the trash just because of how he looked in Washington. I think he played too early in Washington, but that's just my opinion. I'm not saying he's great. But I'm not saying the guy's trash either just because he didn't look good in Washington. We have examples of quarterbacks not looking good at other teams. They go somewhere else and they flourish a little more than they did before. Appreciate that, Sean Manahan. Round of applause for the donation. Yeah, brother. I'm right there with you. He said, had the Killer Bees all been healthy together, in 2015 and 2018, we would have more rings. Facts. The only thing I would disagree with that, I don't know if it's facts. You know why I say that? Championship game against the Patriots. That defense. Have mercy for Percy. Torched. Divisional playoff game against the Jags. That defense, have mercy. You see what I'm saying? But I get what you're saying in theory, but even then, if you really think about it, the Steelers were a problem because we were scoring so much. Ben Roethlisberger throwing 6 touchdowns back-to-back and all this stuff. Le'Veon Bell getting crazy. AB going crazy still, you know, continuing his streak of 100-plus catches in consecutive seasons of the defense. We didn't have the defense. So I think even when they weren't all healthy, when at least 2 of them were playing, we still had enough offense to win one. Just ain't had no defense. So that's the only thing I would disagree with just basically saying I don't disagree with you. But as far as the statement, yeah, I don't think I can say facts, man, because the defense really was the reason why we didn't do nothing. Yeah, man. Yeah, we just got obliterated against the Patriots, man. Chris Hogan. No disrespect to Chris Hogan, but come on, fam. Chris Hogan torching you like that? Defense. Sad but true. Still City Batman, I like that. He says, my biggest thing nobody's talking about is how deep our running back room is. I wonder who will it be? Harris, Snell, McFarland. That is a good point. That's a good point, Still City Batman. I really wonder if they keep Ford. You know, they kind of toyed with that. You know, and they had the opportunity to, you know, in recent years where they could use the practice squad for like a Trey Edmonds. But even like last year, you know, if you think about it, it was James Conner, Benny Snell, Anthony McFarland, and Jalen Samuels. So I wonder if they continue with that rotation and maybe one of the guys are not active, right, each week because you only, you know, have a certain amount active. So I do wonder if they're going to go with 4 running backs and are they going to keep 4 on the, you know, the 53-man roster. If they do, I think it's Jalen Samuels who gets the boot. We'll see. I mean, again, Kalen Ballage, I don't want to commit to saying Jalen Samuels gets cut, but Kalen Ballage, we don't know what he is for us. So he's going to have to show what he can do for Pittsburgh. And he's competing with Jalen Samuels. Okay? Najee Harris will be your starter, obviously. Benny Snell is the next in line. Or there's rumors out there saying that Canada, you know, early reports, which again, these are just reports. Early reports are that maybe McFarland is the number 2. But even if that's the case, then Benny Snell's your number 3. Kalen Ballage will have to show a lot to overtake whatever spot Benny Snell is at. Because Benny Snell, contrary to what some people believe, he has not been bad for the Pittsburgh Steelers. He has not. has not been bad. So that's how I look at that situation, man. It's going to be those 4. If it comes down to where they're only going to keep 3, then I still say Benny Snell, McFarland, and Najee Harris will be your guys. That would be my humble opinion. All right, man, I'll stick around a couple more minutes. What else y'all got, man? Let's see. What else y'all got? Jacob Bellinger says, we didn't have the secondary. The front 7 was solid those years. Yeah, man. That secondary was putrid. Oh, it was bad. It was bad. 007, I like how you spelled that. The only thing the Killer Bees did was kill the chances of going to the playoffs. That's funny. Yeah, man, it just wasn't. It just wasn't. Brother Mark says, and he's talking to Steel City Batman, he says the duo of Najee Harris and Kalen Ballage would be interesting. Yeah, listen, Kalen Ballage, man, he got some tools with him. Got a little speed, he got size. So that's what I'm saying. He might work out. You know, we might be overlooking that. You know, because I remember before we drafted Naji, some people were saying, and I said it, look, if we don't go first round, maybe they picked up Kalen Ballage as a security blanket if we don't necessarily get a running back. But, you know, he might be able to do some things. He might make it to where you can't cut him. And I don't think you do anyway. I think Jalen Samuels, if I had to pick right now, just off of intrigue, I'm going to go with Kalen Ballage because Jalen Samuels hasn't given us much. And I know some people can say it's fair or not fair. He just hasn't been in rotation. And I think you take a chance with a newer guy versus than what you already have because you didn't utilize him much anyway. So that's why I have Samuels, you know, on the outs. August 5th just can't come faster. Yes, you are correct, sir. I'm waiting. I am waiting. Yeah, that's correct, Kenyon. I guess somebody said somebody was going off, but Kenyon made a great point there. Listen, I ain't listening to nothing that happened in minicamp. It ain't in pads. It ain't football until you crack-a-lacking. I tell this story all the time, man. I played offense and defense, running back, strong safety. And to me, the game didn't start. Oh, I loved when we got the ball first. Even though had a little shiftiness to me, but I was more of I ran like a power back that has some shifty, right? I didn't shy away from contact, anything like that, but I could make you miss too, right? But the thing was, if we had the ball first, and I even used to tell my coach, yo, if I get into the second level, I'm not making a move. I'm letting it be known. Whoever comes up to tackle me is me and you. I'm going to try to run right through your chest. Even if I have an opportunity to juke, I'm not doing that on the first play because I want you to understand that's what it is today. And you're going to have to decide by the second, third, and fourth quarter if you want to deal with that. It's all about making your presence known. And that's when I used to get up, like teammates would tell you. After that first hit, I used to jump up like, yeah, now we here. Now let's go. Give me now I'm ready. Until you feel, it ain't football until that crack, bruh. It ain't, and that football in shorts, everybody look cute like that, right? You know, using a basketball analogy. Everybody know the dude that come to the court booted. You know, he laced down. Look like he that guy. Pass him the ball, he can't catch it for nothing. Can't shoot a layup. That's how I feel like football in shorts is. You can look pretty then, but let me see how you do it when another man is standing in front of you. So, there you go. But all right, man, is that all you guys got for me, man? I think this is all y'all got. Destin versus the world says, do you think Freiermuth will overtake Ebron this year? No. 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 Let me explain why. Ebron, I mean, the experience. I think where we're going to use Ebron, Freiermuth won't be. I don't want to say he won't be used that way because I envision us running more 12 personnel. But, well, hold on. Let me take that back. It's possible. It's possible. Let me explain to you why. If we're in 11, let me think about this now. If we're in 11 personnel, I would rather Freiermuth be on the field because he offers you more in the blocking game than Ebron. So if I think about it like that, then yeah, it is possible that Freiermuth can overtake Eric Ebron only because of that scenario. I think Freiermuth right out the gate gives you more in the blocking game than Eric Ebron. So it could get to a point where we have Freiermuth on the field more than Ebron. But when we're just talking about straight up depth chart, not just yet. But yeah, I think it is very possible. Again, if you consider formation, how they will be utilized, it is very possible that Freiermuth at some point in the season is on the field more than Ebron. So yeah, I would say that's possible. But Ebron do got some more wheels though. You know, he's a little quicker. You know, at least it appears that way. He's a little more quicker, a little more shifty. You know, a little more slick than Freiermuth. So that's why I'm saying, man, it depends on how we utilize both in the passing game. I don't know if he just overtakes Ebron right away. But if it gets to a point where we're starting to utilize the tight end more for blocking purposes, then that's when you might see Freiermuth on the field a little bit more, like a wee bit more. But we'll see. We'll see. Three and four receiver sets. So Claypool, Juju, Deontay, and Washington and Harris. Yeah. However, if we go 4 wide and we're using 4 receivers and we're not using the tight end, you know, when we split out like that, let's not forget Ray in some of these scenarios. I want to see a little more of Ray, man. I want to see a little more of Ray McLeod, like especially when, like Juju said, that he does work in the slot. So I'm not opposed of seeing a situation where, wow, 4 straight up receivers. I'm not opposed of a 2x2 set or something like that, or a bunch or a trip set. And you got, one lone guy. I'm not opposed to a Deontay Johnson, Ray McLeod, Claypool, and Deontay Johnson. That's a little nasty concept right there. That's a nasty combination. And again, if you want to run with that same set and run out of it, you might bring James Washington in there for blocking purposes. So yeah, that's when you would utilize a Deontay Johnson, a Juju, a Claypool, and James Washington. But then if we're going to go that deep, then that's when you might spread 4 out, but you're including a tight end. So that's when you might see, again, for running purposes, you might see Juju, Claypool, Washington, and then Freiermuth. So it's endless. It's a lot of things you could do formational, man. Formation-wise, that you could stress the defense. But like I said, I would love to see us work through all of our personnel. That's how you keep a defense off balance. Because they said, Matt Canada has a lot of these formations and things like that. That's how you keep a defense off balance. You basically sending out this very similar formations, but the personnel is where you make your changes. And that's how you get the matchups. We talked about that earlier in a couple shows ago where they're saying that Matt Canada is big on matchups and maximizing, the advantage. So yeah, it's endless, man. It's endless. It's endless of what we could do right there. Yeah. But all right, man, I think I'm going to go ahead and roll. And we did this. Wow, we wrapped this up before 9 o'clock. Isn't that crazy? So I think that's about it, man. I don't have anything else. Let's check the phone queue one more again. Yep, nobody's there. So I think we can go ahead and shut that down. And you guys will more than likely hear me shut that down. And yeah, man, I think we good. So let me give you guys maybe 2 more minutes. Big Gerbil says Fryer move as long as he develops right. He'll be like Heath Miller with more speed. Yeah. Yes, Kenyon. That is a fact. Najee Harris will dictate what we do. Yeah, Brother Mark. That's why I said, listen, James Washington again. I think we talked about that last week. James Washington is one of the better guys on that team that go get that ball and makes the combat catch and the tough catches. And he can block. He's feisty. So you cannot forget James Washington. Like I said, I would like to see Matt Canada utilize all of his personnel. That's what I want Matt Canada to do for me. All right, I'm out of here, guys. Love, love, love. Appreciate all of y'all. Y'all know that. Shameless plug right here. Make sure you do those things for me. Thumbs up, subscribe, and click on your notification. You guys have been doing a great job with the likes, but I'd like to see that continue. More and more likes, man. If you like the video, if you don't like it, you can dislike as well. I'm not trying to sway anybody in one direction, but again, if you do like the content, right? If you like what you saw here tonight, I'm gonna remind you again. There's no reason why you can't do this. If you like the content, you should like the content. You should subscribe, and you should cut on your notifications. Why wouldn't you? But other than that, I hope everybody has... Oh, announcement. Before y'all go, I hope I didn't lose some of you guys. Announcement. Next week is probably going to be a pre-recorded show. And obviously, if I pre-record it, I will tell you why. It's going to be a pre-recorded show. We're traveling. I can't believe we're doing this. But me and my wife and my son will be traveling to Florida. Her father lives in Florida. We haven't seen her father and our younger sister, younger brother, and mother-in-law, and some other people we know down there. We haven't seen them in 2 years due to the fact that we live in Pennsylvania, as well as the fact that the pandemic, obviously everybody knows that. We didn't feel like we were quite comfortable putting our 7-year-old on a flight. You know, my wife and I both have been vaccinated, but, at the time when we thought about this, we was kind of like, I don't know. Maybe we'll drive. I hate driving long distance, guys. I'm telling y'all right now, I hate it. I had said to myself that I would never drive to Florida again in my life. The last time I did it, I think I was 18 years old, and, me and some of the boys, no. But in light of the situation, what we're going to do is we're going to drive down. But we're going to make, some weeks of it. We're going to stay about 3 weeks since both my wife and myself work from home. We'll take our work computer, so it'll be like a work vacation, right? So I say all that to say this. We're leaving on next Tuesday. So obviously I won't be able to do Terrible Towel Tuesday, but what I probably will do is I will do the show, cut the show Monday night, upload it, and it'll drop on Tuesday at the same time. It just will be pre-recorded. And then from there, I plan on continuing to do the shows while I'm in Florida. Obviously it will be a different setting. It won't be still basement here, virtual Heinz Field, So just giving you guys the play-by-play. But other than that, I hope everyone stays safe. Watch out for the hurricanes, absolutely. But stay safe, guys. We'll be in Tampa, so that's where we're going. But everybody stay safe, stay blessed. God bless. And thank you for coming through. And thank you for watching Terrible Towel Tuesday. Catch you guys later. Peace.